So let's talk about fitness for a little bit. So a lot of people will ask me, okay, well, how much should I exercise per week? So they've basically calculated kind of minimal amounts of different types of exercise that would have a really great effect on your body. And they've also figured out what is too much. So let's cover that stuff. So I really think about, the walking, swimming, yoga, all that stuff is great. And that really should compose a great chunk of your weekly fitness routine. So if you think about 150 minutes as a guideline, that's a guideline that a lot of people will use as a bare minimum that says, okay, we should move that much per week slowly for maximal, brain benefits, heart benefits, bone benefits, etc. If you want to get more involved and you want to, let's say you're already doing that and you're doing a great job of that, if you want to take it to another level, we talk about using resistance, so weight training, resistance bands, body weight, something where you're really pushing your muscles to try and create more strength, more stamina. Strength training also really helps with things like bone density. So as we age, what happens is we start to lose muscle mass. So I always think if you have a long-term health goal that says, I want to be strong, if you want to be strong in 10 or 15 years, you really have to be weight training now. So a lot of my patients would say, well, I want to be able to, lift my grandkids, and I want to be able to golf, and I want to be able to travel. So they have these future goals, which is awesome. I always want our patients to have future goals. But right now they're barely walking, say 30 to 45 minutes a week. So you really want to tackle this. You think of it as levels or layers, right? So we really want to get that base layer that says, all right, let's get 150 minutes of slow moving exercise in per week. So whatever you love to do, that's the other thing with that first base level, is that it has to be something you enjoy, because if I tell you to walk and you hate walking, you're never going to get it done. If I tell you, okay, swimming's the best exercise, and you don't like getting in the water or you can't swim, it's not going to happen. And a lot of patients, they don't want to go to a new class or they don't want to go to yoga class. So listen, whatever you like to do, just make sure you're getting your base layer in. So 150 minutes per week. Then we want to talk about moving your body in a way that creates some resistance. So you can use, again, resistance bands. You can use body weight training. You can go to the gym. You can hire a trainer. One of the ways that we use resistance is in this super slow training system. So there was a medical doctor that found that when you moved in a very slow cadence, so say 8 to 10 seconds up and down, it actually had a really beneficial effect on all the different types of muscle fibers. So even going, it's called super slow. And I find for some of my older patients that are scared to go to the gym, you can find trainers that do this super slow method of training, and it's really safe on the joints, but it really can help get you strong. And it's the way that I've been training for the last couple of years, where I've actually, seen my strength go up. Now, the thing with weight training is that I have a lot of patients that overtrain. So it's really important that you give your body an opportunity to recover. And if you don't give your body an opportunity to recover, you're just going to be breaking it down, breaking it down, breaking it down. Same with cardio. So there's people that talk about over cardio, which is basically, if you're doing an hour plus per day, it's literally too much for your body. There's a drop off where if you're doing over 4 hours per week, you actually start to lose the benefit of exercise. So you want to make sure you find that healthy balance, and you want to make sure you're pushing your body, but you also want to make sure that you're not damaging your tissues and that you have a chance to recover. So from a weight training point of view, we really believe that if you did that well twice a week, it would be enough for you to build muscle tissue and to build bone density and have all of those benefits without overtraining. Myself, I do that super slow method once a week. So I'm really lucky because in our building, we have a trainer that practices that super slow method. And so for me, it's like a date in my calendar. It never really changes. So it's Monday at 1 o'clock. So I know for my schedule, my work schedule on Monday basically works around my gym workout because it's that important for me. It's non-negotiable. So it's something that unless there's a holiday on a Monday, it's always there in my calendar. Then on another day, I use a system called an X3 bar. And what it is, it's variable resistance training. So they use a series of bands, And it's a really great product because it's mobile. You can take it with you. If you were traveling, you could potentially take it with you there too. And it uses a principle of variable resistance that says, okay, you're gonna move through certain range of motion. And because it's an elastic band, it gets much harder at the end range than at the beginning range. And if you push yourself, and what I do is I basically do that once or twice a week, and I space that out from my other workouts, it's really a full body, intense workout, and we really train to failure. So my trainer here, when we're doing our super slow training, we might just do one set of an exercise, but I'll literally go to 100% failure, and then I'll move to the next exercise. And I do the same thing with the X3 bar, is that with the resistance bands, I'll essentially go to the very end of my ability and try and do partial reps, and then that's basically it. I'm completely fatigued, and then I let my muscles rest at least a couple days before I try anything else strength training. Now, if those are layers, then we're thinking, okay, we're doing some heavier lifting now. And again, heavy doesn't mean heavy weights. It just means, putting strain on your muscles and your bones intentionally, because what they're gonna do is they're gonna adapt to that stress. So that's how you can actually increase your bone density, is by putting more strain against the tissue. So the last level that I would think about is something like sprinting or all-out effort, okay? So it doesn't have to be running sprinting. This could be sprinting on a bike. So a good example would be a rower or an assault bike. So I have an assault bike at home. So basically that's the bike where you're biking and you're moving your arms at the same time. This is an excellent way that you basically could get an all-out effort. It's really easy on your joints, and it takes less than 5 minutes. So an example of something like this might be, you might do an all-out sprint, literally as hard as you could go for up to 20 seconds, and then you would give yourself maybe a full minute to let your heart rate come down and recover, and you could do that 2, 3, or 4 times, okay? And that would be an example of like an all-out, maximal effort exercise. There's something called Tabata, which was a Japanese researcher that found if he, with bikers, if they went all out for, say, 20 seconds, and then they had a 10-second rest period, what they found is that they could get as much cardiovascular benefits as people that were doing, over 30 minutes of continual biking. So you can really build your cardiovascular system by doing these short bursts. So whether that's on a bike really hard, whether that's an assault bike, whether that's a rowing machine, the idea is that you go really hard, but that you let your heart recover before you go again. Except for Tabata. Tabata is where you're going hard, you get very little rest, and you're repeating that about 8 times. So that's a very intense, high intense method of training, but it can really build your cardiovascular system. I remember my wife, she ran cross country university, and one of the ways that she trained for one of her last races was, it was a 10K race, but instead of running 10K multiple times a week, she just did sprints. She did hills, that's all she did, and she shaved minutes off one of her best times just from really pushing her cardiovascular system. I did the same thing. I'm not a big runner, but one year I did a 10K and I actually was running 7K a week, and my time, wasn't great. I think it was around an hour, and I stumbled upon all this Tabata stuff, and then that's all I did for the next year was just basically sprints, short intervals. I never ran more than 10 minutes a week, and I shaved 7 minutes off my time. So this is a really efficient way to train. Now, if you're thinking, I can't sprint, I can barely walk, okay, then think of it in layers again, that you want to get your base layer in, try and move your body as frequently and consistently as you can. And when you've mastered one level, then you want to think about the next level. So then you say, okay, I've mastered the slow moving. Now I want to really try and, use my body weight, use some resistance bands, use some weights. Once you've mastered that, then I would say you really want to try once a week or so to do that maximal effort. And what that will do, it'll get your body in such a peak state that really now for me, if I do those things in a week, I'm not exercising for hours and hours a week. You'd really be surprised that I tell people all the time, you probably wouldn't be impressed by what I do, but it's the consistency that I do it that gives me the good results. And it's also the recovery piece. You have to let your body recover, because often what happens is we're overtraining. So you want to be really cautious that you're not overtraining, giving your body a break in between your workouts, and that's how you're going to get the maximal benefit.